in talking with women for so many years, knowing that we all have our biggest demons, whether it's fear, whether it's confidence, self-esteem, et cetera, it can hold us back. Yeah. So how the book came to fruition is in 2017, I was actually diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I went through the cancer journey and it changed me. During that journey, my faith really strengthened. The first night I was diagnosed, I prayed, keep me out of the darkness. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that did that was daily journaling. From the moment I was diagnosed on the exam table, I had a vision. It was like this moment of, who are you going to be through this process? This problem was actually brought to me to serve me if I will allow myself to learn through it. Instead of being a victim, mm-hmm. getting angry about it, right. You can still be mad. I was mad I got cancer. Mm-hmm. But what am I going to do about it? Mm-hmm. And so how can I grow through this? What can I learn from this? If nobody ever reads it but my two daughters, it will have been worth the time and effort because I'm leaving a legacy to them.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Blueprint. Today I'm here with Christy Trujillo. She is a sales leader and an author, and she's here to tell us what's what and tell you how to become a billionaire. Stay tuned. And if you guys could do me a favor, just make sure that you hit the subscribe button on the bottom. That's going to allow us to get more people's stories out there, and we're able to get more people out in front of you. So that'd be awesome. Christy, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I want to know a little bit about your life story as we go through, and that's kind of how we set up these podcasts, is tell a little bit about you. If you could just give me 5 minutes just to give me just a taste of what these people are going to hear as they go through the podcast. A little bit about your, end result of what you're doing with being an author and a sales leader.
So I was raised in a small town mm-hmm. in Rockwall, Texas, mm-hmm. By two really hardworking people, mm-hmm. Entrepreneurs. My mom actually is a Cuban immigrant, came mm-hmm. from Cuba in 1960 when Castro took over. Mm-hmm. And my father was the first in his family to go off to college, mm-hmm. Became a doctor and farmer. Mm-hmm. And so there are three girls. We were raised with lots of work ethic. Mm-hmm. If we didn't really play together as a family, we did a lot of working together as a family. Mm-hmm. But that was just, how I was raised. Yeah. And of course, growing up, probably hated that. Mm-hmm. But as I grew, mm-hmm. It's probably one of the things that I love most that I was given as a child mm-hmm. is just a really strong work ethic. So I went on to work corporate America. I did that for 13 years, had a couple babies. I've got two daughters. And I got into being an entrepreneur about 17 years ago. By chance, I'm actually in the direct sales space. Mm-hmm. I do sales leadership with a jewelry company. Mm-hmm. And I had always wanted something for myself, mm-hmm. but having been raised in a family of entrepreneurs, and my older sister was an entrepreneur as well, mm-hmm. I saw the work and the effort that goes into the behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Yes, you have amazing flexibility, mm-hmm. but it's 24/7.
Right.
I mean, my mother was my dad's office manager. My dad took, calls through dinner talking about people's, medical issues. Mm-hmm. And it just was nonstop. Mm-hmm. And then he was a farmer on the side. So, I think I would try to think of things that I could do, and nothing really fell into my lap until 2008. And I was introduced to the direct sales space. And I thought, I don't know, maybe I'll try this. Mm-hmm.
Wait, what is direct sales? Just as you're getting into that.
Great question. Yeah. If you've heard of multi-level marketing, yep. network marketing, mm-hmm. Basically you join a company to either sell a product, learn about the product, share it with your, friends, family, your mm-hmm. connections, your sales base that you build, your customer base that you build. But really what you do with it is up to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you've probably known many people get into the industry that have had some success defined however you want to define it.
Right.
Lots of people get in and don't do too much. I had, if I'm honest, a negative impression of the industry because I had just known people that got in and kind of dabbled, but never really took ownership of, this is my business. This is what I'm going to pursue. So when I considered doing it, I didn't really have a positive, mind for it. But as I decided to do it with my two sisters.
Yeah.
So I've got two sisters and we are very close. We were all in pharmaceutical sales together for years. It's kind of a very strange relationship. We're all best friends. It's not normal, but it's really great.
That's amazing.
We love it. But we decided to try it together. And once I got in and I did a little bit of training, I was like, this could be really fun. This could be really impactful. This could actually be very lucrative. So after about 6 months of kind of following the training that they set up, I started seeing people that were doing really well. And I started realizing this is not an industry for, you don't have to be a brainiac. But you do, if you've got a work ethic, you could do really well.
Yeah.
So about 6 months in, I decided to quit my job that I had with, I was in pharma sales with a company called GSK. I decided to quit my job and pursue it with a full-time flexible focus. So I've been doing that now for 17 years. Really just started as I'd sell a little bit of product, but I fell in love with it. And I started building and developing a team. And so now I've been in sales leadership. I lead a large organization of women, helping them to, and a few men. Actually, one of our top sellers is a man, so I should not exclude him. But just helping them build mostly online businesses now, but some do it in home, et cetera. So that's really the business model. And then you get paid on your direct sales and you get paid on what your team does, which is no different than what I did in pharmaceutical sales.
Let me ask you this question, because a lot of people are going to hear direct sales, and they're going to hear, you said MLM after that.
Yep.
There's a lot of negative.
Yes, I had it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so when you hear people kind of walk into that, you're like, hey, I want to get into this. Like, do you start wearing out your friend base? Do you start becoming a pariah for the people that are around you? Because next thing you know, you're like peddling, whatever to all of your friends, because you said it's your friends, your family, your circles, right? It's not really reaching out. You're staying within, right?
If you don't do it right.
Okay.
So that was my biggest concern. In fact, my husband, when I joined, when I was considering joining, he said, but I don't want you chasing our friends around with a catalog. And I'm like, I don't either. Who do you think, I am? Because that had kind of been my impression. That had been what I had seen a lot of my friends or acquaintances do, social media contacts. So, the difference is, or how you really build a big business, is you start with friends and family, just as I'm sure you did, Brandon, when you started your business. And what happens is you, especially in what I do, which is actually party planning. So imagine this. You've got a friend, my best friend, loves the jewelry. And so it's jewelry actually is what I sell. And so she wants more of the jewelry, but she's like, I don't really want to buy it all. So I'll have a party. I'll invite my friends to shop the jewelry. And then she gets free jewelry for doing so. So she invites her friends. Her friends shop the jewelry. They love the jewelry, whatever. A few of her friends are like, you know what? I don't want to spend all my money either. I'll do a party too, get some free jewelry if you're willing to do it. Well, sure I am. So anyway, then we go to meet her friends. Well, all of a sudden I'm in what we call Strangerville. I'm beyond my friends and family. So when you learn the skills to do that, just like you would do, or, a plumber would do, or a roofer would do to build their business from the ground up, you start to meet strangers through referrals, through the business itself, et cetera. So it's no different The problem is there are those, just like with any business, that give it a bad name.
Yeah.
Because they're going to either hound their friends, make them feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be honest, Brandon, after 17 years of doing this, I'm sure I sell to some friends that just love jewelry. I couldn't tell. I was with friends last night for dinner. I don't think one of them shop with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not my circle of customer base now.
Yeah.
But it's been through, building over the years.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, like, for me, I don't think I do business with any of my friends.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, like I didn't start that way. Started through, the general marketing channels and kind of building that way. So it's always interesting to me to hear like how people, start to recruit, or people start to bring people into the circle for how they want to bring their business out, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a completely different approach as to, hey, let me hit everybody that's a contact list in my phone.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Versus, how do I find people that are actually looking for this product?
Well, and that's what I love. There's so many different ways to do network marketing, direct sales. Okay, different products, different avenues. There's a lot that really focus a lot on social media presence. Okay, I do have social media presence, and I do work on that. But really, with what I do, it's more party planning. And, this is not a commercial, but you're asking me, what I love about party planning is that my hostess, my person that's like, I really want to, get some free jewelry. So let's do a party. She brings me her friends. I'm not having to go like, scratch around, dig around for friends or connections on social media or in my contact list, et cetera. She's bringing me her people. So it's like complete strangers coming to me. That's why I love the model that I'm with. So anyway, but that's how it works.
Okay. Well, very cool. So you've been doing that for 17 years now.
17 years, yeah.
You also said you're in party planning as well.
Yeah.
Completely different. Sounds like you've got a lot of irons in the fire.
So party planning with the jewelry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got what you're saying. Would you mind getting my iPad? That's a really cool, point of that to like understand the different ways to get exposure and as you start to get past that, what led you into getting exposure for the book? Like, how did you say, I need to get something off my chest. I need to say something. I need to go through that.
So in talking with women for so many years, knowing that we all have our biggest demons, whether it's fear, whether it's confidence, self-esteem, et cetera, it can hold us back. Yeah. So how the book came to fruition is in 2017, I was actually diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I went through the cancer journey and it changed me. I mean, I've always had a really strong, I've always had a faith. I shouldn't say really strong faith. I've always had a faith. But during that journey, my faith really strengthened. And I learned for myself to really lean into my faith. For me, it's the Lord, okay? For whoever, everybody has their own versions of that or different versions possibly. Something in that time period told me to journal. So I really started journaling every day. How I felt. One of the things I'd prayed for was to stay out of the darkness because I didn't want to get
What does that mean?
So to me, it was negativity. It was fear. It was really just the fear of, would I make it through this? Why did this happen to me? How's it going to affect my kids? How's it going to affect my husband? I wanted to stay out of that.
Just negatively spiraling
Negative
downhill.
thoughts. Yeah. I wanted to stay out of the negative thoughts. And so literally the first night I was diagnosed, I prayed, keep me out of the darkness. And one of the things that did that was daily journaling. I didn't have this strategy or I didn't read this somewhere. It just kind of manifested with time. And at the time I was working with a life coach and I told her, I'm journaling every day. I don't know, something in me feels like at some point I may need to share this story. Because from the moment I was diagnosed on the exam table, I had a vision, not like a for real vision. Okay. I wish I could say that, but I didn't. But it was like this moment of, who are you going to be through this process? I don't know if you've had thoughts like that. If I get this thing, would I fall to pieces or would I just be like, have tons of strength? And in that moment, I decided, no, I'm going to rise up. I'm going to be a pillar of strength. Something in me just said, you're going to be this.
Yeah.
And I do know now it was the Lord. And so I started journaling and I started thinking one day, maybe I want to share the story. Okay. Fast forward. I went through a corporate lawsuit about a year later. My two sisters and I, we were with a company prior to the company we're with now. And we were sued when we left. It was a terrible situation because I'd built a large team, a 10-year reputation. I pride myself on my reputation, my ethics. And all of a sudden, all of these relationships that you had, just people started questioning who you were. It was an awful experience to go through, but it was humbling. And as in any difficult situation, grew tremendously through that. So that happened 1 year after the cancer. We started over our businesses with a new company, which was scary and exciting and all those kind of things. Best decision I ever made. And then about a year after that, I went through a divorce of a 23-year marriage and a 25-year relationship. And through all of that, I did a lot of self-reflection, a lot of counseling, a lot of trauma therapy, and decided there were so many podcasters, authors, people I didn't know, just follow on social media, in addition to friends, that the reason I made it through those three, I call it my trifecta situation, was because of their stories. The things that they had gone through and seeing them rise, thrive, start new lives, start over, gave me hope. And I'm a true believer that is why the Lord puts us here. He wants us to share. If we're all going to go through stuff.
Right.
So one of the talents he gave me, or skills or characteristics, is I do have the ability to be very vulnerable. It doesn't bother me. It can get you in trouble. But every strength has its weakness. But I feel very comfortable doing that. I always have. And so for me, I felt this extreme calling, like you need to put your story down so that you can help other people when they're struggling.
Okay.
So that's kind of the long story of where the book, how it came. Yeah.
It's not a super, I think that there's three parts of this I really want to talk about.
Okay.
One is, you talked about becoming the pillar. Like that's an amazing thing or concept to really put out to people, because people don't really think about, they react to things that come to them. They don't think through how they're going to handle things. They're just reactionary for the most part. I try to do that for myself too, is like, X could be coming. How do you handle this? Who will you be?
Yeah.
And you coach yourself up. You know what I mean? Where you get to the point where there's two paths that I'm going to take. I'm going to fold.
Right.
I'm going to be
crumble
and cry in the corner. Right. Or I know all of these daggers are going to be coming my way. I know I'm going to have to survive these. They're going to hurt the same either way.
Right.
Whether I'm laying in a pile getting stabbed or whether I'm walking through the fire getting stabbed. This one on the left is going to help me recover so much faster because I'm taking them all head on. Is that how you perceive that? I don't know that a lot of people perceive it the same way. So that's why I'm asking. That's the way I feel.
Oh, absolutely. It's a choice you make.
Yeah.
And one of the things I talk about in the book is when you go through these trials, tribulations, stresses, making that choice that this problem was actually brought to me to serve me, if I will allow myself to learn through it, instead of being a victim, getting angry about it.
Right.
You can still be mad, I was mad I got cancer, but what am I going to do about it? And so how can I grow through this? What can I learn from this? Who can I serve through this that will carry me through it, but also bring bigger purpose to it versus just Christy got cancer. That's her story. So I feel, and this is what I try to teach my girls as well. I mean, every single challenge that comes our way, what can I learn from this in order to strengthen myself and grow? So, I mean, it is a choice, and it's not always easy. And I'm not always perfect at it.
Yeah, no one is, right?
No, yeah.
I mean, that's the journey. That's testing yourself. That's starting to, when you start to build a little bit of it, I don't want to say a callus or like you're shielding yourself, but
you are.
You know what you're walking into, and you know what that's going to feel like. Do you ever think about, and I equate these two things the same way. Do you ever think about pain? What truly, physical pain? What truly is that? I've broke my arm pretty significantly 10 years ago. I didn't wail over it. I didn't cry. I thought through the process, and I saw what was happening, and I was looking at my arm. Yeah, there's sensory going off in my hand, right?
Right.
And I can feel what it is. But I'm not shocked by it because I'm sitting here thinking what it feels like. If I go to draw blood, I'll watch the needle go in my arm because I want to understand what's happening. I want to feel that. I want to equate the feeling of that. And am I psyching myself out by going, oh, I don't want to look.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I make it worse than it is. But if I take it head on and I look at it and I can see it going in, it's like, does that really so painful that I can't take it? A tattoo. I have a lot of tattoos. I notice you have tattoos as well.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll get to that point. But when you start to think about that, it's like so many people talk about it's the worst feeling in the world, and you don't even know.
The funniest question I get is did it hurt? Well, what do you think?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not. Of
course it hurt.
It's not comfortable.
No,
but
it's not awful. You're not crying.
Yeah. And there's some pain to it, but at the end of the day, too, it's like I think people tell a story to others to make it feel bigger than it is, right? And I think people tell a story to themselves to make them feel it's more important or bigger than it is.
No,
right?
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
And so they really blow things out of scope. And if you really take a moment to watch the prick or breathe through the break, you really start to understand, is that true pain? Is this something that I can't handle? Or is this something that I'm conditioned to now be aware during the time of other situations?
Right. Well, it's interesting. You bring up the physical pain. So when I was going through my divorce, I'd never been through this before. Never imagined I'd go through it. And I felt physical pain. And I would when it would come at first, I didn't know what it was, and then I learned through counseling this is normal. And it would be my arms would hurt and my legs would hurt. It was almost like when I'd gone through radiation and the cells were like pulling me down. It was so strange. I know it sounds very strange, but I was advised, lay down, feel the pain. Don't try to avoid the pain because you'll grow through the pain. If you try to avoid the pain, it will actually, what it does scientifically, which I could never explain, it actually makes it worse. And so, but if you allow your body to feel it, then you will overcome it in time, like building up the callus, I guess would be maybe a good analogy. And so I had to learn to do that. But what I noticed is it made me capable of taking on more challenges because I'm learning and conditioning myself to expect challenges, expect problems. And what I have found also is through this, gaining confidence in myself that I can get through anything. Like it's a really amazing feeling. I would never wish the things that I've gone through on anybody. There's much worse things that I could go through. Okay. I would never wish those things, but I'm so grateful now because of the strength that I feel that I could kind of take on anything.
Yeah. It's funny, like that term that you use, like I always mentally try to say, I try to spin it a different way. You say, I can get through anything. I always tell myself, I'm going to get through everything. Yeah. It's how I choose to accept it.
Yep.
And what road I take. I'm still going to take the same path. Whether I want to or whether I go through kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
The path is going to happen. So am I going to be aware of my decisions? Am I going to be aware of my situations? Or am I going to be so self-absorbed with why did it happen to me and things that are going on that I can't think through? I can't make the best decision at that moment because I'm off feeling sorry for myself or I'm doing something else, right? You're going to make it through life to a certain point. Like everyone's going to die.
But either this way or that way.
You're going to, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we all can and we will, but it's how you choose to take that path, right?
Right.
It's like, am I going to pick myself up?
It's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice. And that's why I say, I can only equate it to being like a divine intervention because I remember being in that moment and making a choice. And that one choice then affected how I handled the next massive thing that came my way and the next massive thing that came my way. I don't remember prior to that, like really having had that filter, but that, that's part of why I want to share my story. Yeah. Because hopefully, you impact somebody to maybe consider that when it's their turn to go through something.
So in this chain of 3 events you call your trifecta, the first one was
getting cancer.
It's getting cancer.
Yeah.
Okay. And so let's talk about it. Are you okay to talk about that for a minute?
Oh my God, absolutely. I told you I'm very vulnerable.
Okay.
So yeah.
My mother got diagnosed with breast cancer a month and a half ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we're going through that right now. Things are going well, and it's the first time I've said that out loud to anybody, quite honestly. And sorry, Mom, if you didn't want that on a podcast. Like that's probably should have asked beforehand. But at the end of the day, she's the strongest woman I've ever been around. Right? She's just like can do anything and whatever. And to see her question things or try to understand. She took it like a champ, to be quite honest. And I'm like, well, this is exactly where I get this from. She's like, okay, I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do that. And she didn't freak out. She didn't fall on the ground. She didn't do whatever. She would call me and talk me through the things that are going to happen and the way they're going to happen. And I'm like, this is exactly the way and why I think this way. Right. So from your experience, you're at the doctor's office, you go through this news because there's so many people out there that are feeling the same thing.
Sure.
Literally right now.
Yeah. Like your mom.
Like my mom. Take me through this experience.
So, you I don't know. I never thought it'd be me. I say most of us don't think it'll be me. You wonder, you worry, but cancer is so prevalent these days. But, for some reason, I have no idea why, I've always been very diligent about my checkups. So if there's anything I could say to anybody, go get your mammogram. Like I am so diligent about it. It didn't run in my family. No history of cancer. My grandfather had it because he was a smoker. So anyway, I'm doing my annual checkups and I get a letter on the counter or in the mailbox one day saying, it was an irregular test or, abnormal results, come back. And I remember my husband said, oh my gosh. I said, oh no, I'm not worried. Like the same thing happened last year, So I go in for my next visit for the advanced mammogram. I can't even remember the terms at this moment, but and they scheduled me when they knew there would be a radiologist there, just in case. And so they did the scan, they called me in, the radiologist is there, and my father is actually a physician in the community he's retired now, So he starts asking about my dad. My dad's big hunter, big deer hunter. So we're talking about hunting, and all of a sudden, the conversation stopped. And I was like, and the mood changed. And then I knew something was not right. And so I'm laying on that table, and that's when I mentioned that, something came over me. They're like, who are you going to be? Who are you going to be through this? And I got in the car, and I remember calling my dad. And it was a whirlwind. That day was a whirlwind. My husband and I came together. We met with my OB-GYN that night, and she kind of talked us through the fear component and just what would happen over the next year. And then it's finding your doctors and I was curious what your mom's thoughts were, because the biggest thing that came to my mind was, what did I do?
Wow. Okay.
What did I do to cause this? I've always been an exerciser, lived a very fairly healthy life. I mean, I might have French fries once a week, but a fairly healthy life. And I was 45, I guess, at the time when I was diagnosed. And so what did I do? And then I had the girls, my daughters were 8 and 12 at the time. And then you start thinking, oh my gosh, who's going to be there for them if something happens to me? So, your mind just cycles. And then the first night, that's the night I prayed, keep me out of the darkness. And I remember texting my husband from the bed. He was in the living room watching TV. And I said, come in here with me. I'm scared. I didn't want to go to bed at night with fear because I just knew that was, and I was cognizant to think, that's what Satan does. He wants us to feel that. And I am going to do everything I can to try to stay out of that. So, from then on, it was just finding the right doctors, learning more. I refused to read anything on the internet. That was my pharmaceutical background because, and I was
Mayo Clinic scared.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, I am not, there's so much on there. I'm just going to I'm going to go to the people that I trust, which are the physicians I researched, and I'm going to listen to what they tell me. And that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
I don't need to know anymore. I was lucky. I don't know what kind of cancer your mother has, but I had invasive ductal carcinoma, which is what my physician said is old lady cancer. It's the most common. We caught it early because I get my mammograms, and I was able to do a lumpectomy and radiation. I did not have to have chemo, but that was enough. And then I went through the process of, I joined a cancer support group because of all the fear, all the questions. And my confidants had always been my mom and my 2 sisters. Yes, I have friends outside of that, but those were like my go-tos. None of them had been through it. And my mom said, you've got to find somebody to lean on where you can ask specific questions. So I joined a support group. And I remember, which that conversation with my mom is a lot of too why I wrote the book, which is interesting how your life can be put together through a puzzle, But I went to my very first support group, and I almost felt like a imposter, like I had imposter syndrome. Because what I realized that I would encourage anybody to go to a support group is my situation was not as bad as somebody else's situation.
Sure.
So it made me feel more hopeful. And that was really healthy. And going through a time like that.
Did it make you feel guilty for feeling bad for yourself at that point?
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
And it also made me feel like, oh my God, they're going through all these different chemos. They've been through rounds of, I haven't gone through that. Maybe I shouldn't even be here. What value do I have to bring? It was a process, and I had to, learn to get over that. Everybody's got a different cancer journey. There's no one size fits all.
Right.
And my experience is that, and my mindset could help somebody there where maybe I couldn't talk about what my chemo session was like. I could talk about how I've helped myself stay in a positive mindset, and that was going to serve somebody. So it was just an interesting process. And it was about a year long of, treatment and surgeries and radiation and recoveries and medications and all that kind of stuff. But, and I was told the day I was diagnosed by my OB-GYN, it'll be a yucky year, but you will get through it. Okay. And that's the beauty of research these days, because your mother will be fine, most likely. I don't know all her details, but most people with breast cancer now overcome it. So I'm thankful for that.
When you say a yucky year, let's talk about a yucky year. You're going into this thing, you hear the news, they give you the schedule. You're going to go to your surgery. We're going to put the tracking devices or whatever they put in there to find exactly where the cancer is before they go to surgery, right? And then what? Like, you've gone through and you have your surgery. Do you feel like, did they get it? Is it gone? Like,
yes, there's that goes through, because especially with, I'm sure any kind of cancer, one of the things that shocked me is when I went to interview my first surgeon, she presented to me like, here are your options. You can do da. And I'm like, oh, no, what would you do? I don't want options.
Yeah.
Just tell me what to do. And what I realized is there is no one size fits all. So there were choices I had to make. Did I want to have a mastectomy? Did I want to have a lumpectomy? Did I want to worry if that I could potentially have it again if I didn't, remove my breasts? So yeah, there's all these questions that you have. Did I do the right thing? Did I go to the right surgeon?
Mm-hmm.
Did I get the right protocol for radiation? And with what I went through, I actually was prescribed a medication called tamoxifen.
Mm-hmm.
That if you are premenopausal, you take this estrogen mimicking product for up to 5 years to help you reduce your chances of the cancer coming back, of recurrence. And the medication has yucky side effects.
Okay.
And so I was given the medication prior to starting radiation and had such bad side effects. It was extreme bloating. I couldn't walk and pick up my feet enough that I would trip over just the rugs in the kitchen.
Wow.
And so I went through those side effects. I don't remember how many weeks, 4 weeks or something. I was miserable thinking I got to do this for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an entrepreneur. I run my own business. I'm a mommy of these 2 little girls.
Mm-hmm.
How in the world am I going to keep all this up? And you know, from an emotional perspective and a physical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember going to my surgeon and he said, you know what? Let's put that medication on the side for a minute. Let's get you through your radiation because I knew there were going to be side effects with that.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll revisit this after your radiation. Oh my God. I felt like I won the lottery because I was so, I wasn't, the quality of life wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very type A, very high functioning, you know, I zoom around the house doing all the things and I didn't want to stop my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't want to have to stop my life. And so anyway, got through the radiation, got through those side effects. We restarted the medication. So all of this is just a process of, it's not just the surgery, just the healing. It's then there's this and then there's this. And then knowing that I'd been taking this medication for 5 years was like, oh my goodness. I ended up taking it for 2.5. I made it for 2.5 years. And then my oncologist and I came to the conclusion together that the quality of life struggle on the medication was not worth the small percentage for my case. So anybody listening, it's different with everybody. But for my case, it was like a percentage difference in recurrence rates. And I was having to take an antidepressant on top of, because it would alter your mood. And then what are the side effects with that? And it was like you're layering on all this stuff.
Right, yeah.
For 1% difference, or it was like 1.5% difference in recurrence rates. So we made a choice to stop. But that process just goes on, you know, for a while. And I didn't feel like myself for probably 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So.
And so, you know, as you're going through this, you're talking about how am I going to be I'm type A, I got my business, I got my kids.
I like to operate like that.
I haven't heard you mention your husband at the time.
So, in regards to just
where he fit in the piece of this?
Well, he's an entrepreneur as well. Okay. This is my ex-husband now.
Yep.
He's an entrepreneur as well. And so during that process, his way of coping with it was throwing himself into work. And because my income could be affected. And that's really what like our friends and my family and his family said, like, this is where you could be helpful. And so that is what he did. Threw himself into work. And so, yeah, but he was by my side, absolutely by my side, helping me through all the struggles of the day-to-day stuff. So, but works long hours and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Did this cause a divide between you guys?
So I would say actually it brought us closer together during that period because I leaned so much on him emotionally. And one of the things that's interesting, it's so funny because, you know, you don't think about this stuff all the time and you're bringing me back to some memories. One of the things I loved about going through that experience, which sounds crazy, is when you go through something like that versus a corporate lawsuit. You're surrounded by love. Everybody is there to support you. I mean, if you have a strong support system, you know, they're there to support you. They want to bring you meals. They want to help you emotionally, be there for you. And during that time, it was one of the first times in my life, because I've always been a worker bee, that I allowed myself, because I had to slow down. And I loved slowing down the pace.
Mm-hmm.
And I was afraid. I used to say, I'm afraid to re-enter my life because I just was almost on a hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the calm, slowing down pace of just being, Christy more than I was, because I was mom and wife and, business owner and all the different hats that you wear. So that was a joyful time. So I actually remember enjoying us being together as a family. Yeah, it was actually really good.
That is very interesting that you say, like, here's some good memories that came out of this, right? Like, everyone can think, oh, this is the darkest point in my life. I struggled. I got through this. But you just looked fondly on kind of tearing yourself down and rebuilding, not just physically, but mentally. You tore yourself down and brought yourself back, but only to the place that was the best spot for you to be in, right?
Absolutely. That's why I'm so grateful for the experience, but that's been a choice. I've made the choice to think of it like that versus to look for the goodness, to look for I always say, look for the signs, look for the opportunities within those moments, because they're there.
Yeah.
If you're willing to really look for them. So, yeah.
So after that first year, it took you a little bit to kind of get mentally back after that first year. How long do you think you were until you made it back, on your 2 feet to where you felt like Christy again?
It was a good year and a half before I actually felt like myself again. Like energy level, where I could go, actually fully probably 2.5 years, because that's when I finally got off the medication. But I felt like I wasn't the cancer patient. I wasn't that hat. I wasn't wearing that hat anymore, probably after about a year and a half. Yeah.
And so you got through that. And then how long until the next?
It happened during
the middle of this. Okay.
So I was diagnosed in April of 2017.
Okay.
And probably about February, March, so 11, 12 months later, an opportunity came to us to explore a new company, and with greater earning potential for us as well as our team members. And so decided to explore it, was not looking for anything. And this is one of the things that I talk a lot about in the book that really has become a foundation of who I am and kind of why I decided to come, meet you. I am such a believer that God will open doors. And if we are willing to walk through them and see what possibly is on the other side, who knows what is, but he's going to close the ones that aren't meant for us to walk through.
Yeah.
So this door opened and we weren't looking for another opportunity. Things weren't going great at our past company, but we decided to go get information. Why not get information? So anyway, after weeks and weeks of researching and deciding, and because basically in our industry, you start over, you kind of quit a company, you start over with a new company. And was it going to be worth that? Were we going to be able to financially make that work for our families? So anyway, it seemed really like a great opportunity. So we decided to walk through the door. I was still finishing my cancer treatment. And so about, a week or two in for us switching companies, we get hit with a lawsuit. So it was right in the middle of it, right in the middle. But what's interesting, that was a miserable experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I shared a little bit a few minutes ago, and I would say this is way worse than the cancer.
Wow.
And my sisters would say to me, because they were all going through it with me, how? I'm like, like I said a second ago, when you go through something like a health issue, you are surrounded by support and love. When we went through this, we were being torn down.
By everyone. Okay. Even your team and your staff that you built up. And
because there were lies shared that people will believe, because what I've learned is this, and now I've heard this happens with churches. This happens a lot. When a situation happens like us, and we were some of the top income earners, they leave. Well, it's like, oh my God, what does it say about the company? Was the company going down?
Yeah.
And so basically, a PR campaign has to be created in order to save the company. And it worked. So it was just a really yucky experience.
So they slandered you to
to
keep everyone.
To make people doubt us.
Okay.
So, so then it was, oh my gosh, I've worked on my reputation for all these years. How in the world could this fall apart in a matter of, a week, 24 hours, So it was surrounded by a lot of hate. I mentioned in the book too, like people didn't want to take pictures with us if they would see us in public. I mean, it was really crazy now to think about. But again, you can go through crap to get on the other side. And I mean, I would not change a thing that we had to go through that because I mean, I have this sword where we are now. So it was a great decision, but you had to walk through a lot of pain to get there.
I love your doors analogy, and then talking about, praying for certain doors to be opened and things like that. I use that all the time in my life too. I say that prayer all the time, but I always say, Lord, don't show me a door. Don't even show it to me. Because if I see a door, I'm kicking it down. Just don't put it in front of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think there are certain situations like where we condition ourselves for this type of, like your mentality, your work ethic, the things you go through, the things that build you or whatever, and then leaning on faith to help you out through those things. Like, I really loved your analogy there of like, I needed this. And then I had to really kind of set myself back to go like, hey, look, in the big scheme of things, I'm really a pawn in this thing. I'm not nothing special. I'm not big. I know everyone's going to go through trials. I know everyone's going to have certain things and to different degrees in their life of how hard the hardships are. Right. But I'm going to have to live through those. So I know who I am. I know who I've been built to be. I know who I'm conditioned to be. Please serve me this way, and be very forthright of what you're asking for.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I tell a story in the book about my daughter. So my oldest daughter is 23 now. She just turned 23. And she went to Texas Tech for a couple of years. She was a plant and soil science major. She's obsessed with plants. But she's super artsy. Okay. And that's a very conservative city. And so she, after 2 years there, she was like, Mom, I cannot be in Lubbock anymore. And I was like, oh God, transferring, like, are we going to lose credits and, all that kind of stuff. But she's like, I really want to go to UNT. I really want to transfer to Denton. And her dad was against it. He was a Tech alumni and against it for valid reasons. Like, will we lose money? Will we lose her? Will she lose her credits? She was never a stellar student. School has always been hard for her. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, this is going to extend her time that she has to go to school. In addition, in Lubbock, a lot of the internships and stuff for the ag department, which is where they put her, was like corn and cotton. And she's like, that is not what she's not interested in that stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I said, you know what, babe, I'm willing to explore this with you. But we're going to do this the way I believe we're going to get the right answer. We're going to walk through the doors that God opens and we're going to not walk through the ones he closes. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to schedule an appointment with the advisor. If the advisor tells us we're not going to lose credits, there's a door open.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we're going to schedule an appointment to find out about the, department you want to transfer to. We're going to see how many more hours that would take. Is that going to extend your time? If the door opens, great. If it closes, it does. That is what I try to live by because the hardest decision I've ever made in my life was to whether to file for divorce. I never wanted to go through that. I didn't come from a family that had. So in my mind, it was like failure, which I don't believe that anymore. So for anybody out there listening, I do not believe that anymore, but that was my conditioned thinking. And I needed somebody else to make the decision for me because I didn't want to be responsible for that decision for my kids. And so that is when I really learned to pray into if you tell me what to do, because I can't do it on my own. And so this is what I try to live by now because it's way easier for him to tell me than for me to have to make a decision myself. So that's what I'm trying to, teach my girls as well.
So if I'm wrapping my mind around what you're saying, if the world offers you a clear path, you try to step through the door no matter what the
Yeah.
answer is.
Mhm.
Wow, very interesting. That's bold.
I can give you another analogy.
Yeah, give me
Okay.
something. I need to hear that one.
So I had the idea of writing the book.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm not an author.
Mm-hmm.
I would never have called myself one. I now have accepted that term.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I hated English class.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I hated writing papers.
Yeah.
Like that was not my thing. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to write a book from a marketing perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like what chapter goes first, what chapter goes last. Like, I mean, I'm smart enough to know there's got to be a formula.
Right.
I don't know the formula.
Right.
How in the world would I do this? Number two, I worked so much in my primary job. When would I do this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm now in a new marriage. I want to spend time with my husband and my 3 stepsons. Like, when would I do this? So I had lots of doubt. Well, I was working with a business coach. And the first meeting I met with him, he said, what do you want to gain out of this? And I said, I think I want to start a book. I want to learn how to forgive because I was struggling with that. And I want to grow my business by 20% this year. And the first thing he said was, tell me about this book.
Mm-hmm.
So I started talking, I have this idea and, it's about learning to trust yourself and this, with my story and what I've gone through. And he said, go write down some chapter titles. And the next time we talk, let's talk through it again. I might have a writing coach I could hook you up with. And I was like, okay. So I did.
ChatGPT, here you are.
I didn't even know about ChatGPT back then. That's so embarrassing. But that's been almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I take a plane ride to Manhattan. And on the plane, the whole time I'm just like writing down chapter ideas and, all this kind of stuff. So we get back to our next meeting and he says, wow, you actually have really thought this through. And I'm like, no, I've been thinking about this for many years, but I don't know how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I know somebody I could hook you up with. And I was like, okay. So I prayed about it. Like, if this is meant to be, let this be his will, not my will. Because I didn't want it to be that I want my story on pages.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be this story could help somebody get through their day, get through their challenge if they need to hear it. Not about me. It needed to be about others. And sometimes you don't know, like within your own self, is it the ego or is it not? So anyway, I go to meet with this book coach, writing coach. Pray before, let it be a good match. Within 10 minutes, I knew this is the woman for me. Like I wanted her in my life. I wanted her in my circle. She was a faith-filled person. She had recently gone through a divorce. Like we aligned like that. So to me, that's a door opening.
Okay.
Versus it being, I don't know about this person. We're not really connecting or, and then it was, okay, do I want to pay for this? Like, what does it cost to do this kind of thing?
Right.
I got 2 kids I'm paying for college, do I, and those doors opened instead of closed. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Just opportunity showing itself.
Yes.
Okay.
But being willing to go, and let me tell you, I was scared the whole time.
Yeah.
Scared the whole time.
Yeah.
Like something new.
Yeah.
But what I also was told is when you have a passion like this inside of you that is so strong that you're thinking about often for a long time, it's not going anywhere. It is put there for a reason and you can either act on the reason or you could regret it later.
Yeah.
Act on it and at least try. And at least if it doesn't succeed, who cares?
Yeah.
You aren't going to succeed if you never try.
Right.
So anyway, that's what I've learned is my comfort level. That's just what's helped me.
You mentioned the term, I was scared the whole time. Is scared the word? Is anxious? Is because I think, is it true fear of what's going to happen, or is it not knowing where you're going and there being some anxiety built up behind that? Because I wonder, like the people that are listening currently, we use the term scare as a big catch-all.
Yeah.
Right? If you can kind of elaborate a little bit more on like what you mean by scare. Do you mean like I don't know where these things are coming from, and I'm kind of anxious on how this is going, or don't let me put words in your mouth. I just want to know a little bit deeper about the term scared for you and what that meant.
Well, in relation to this, it was multifaceted. I was scared to be vulnerable and let people read about myself.
Interesting. Okay.
It is a vulnerable thing to do, to put your story out on into the world, the internet, in a book, whatever. That was scary. It scared me, the process. And this is interesting because I learned this about my personality during this process. The process of, oh my gosh, it seems overwhelming to accomplish this goal. Yeah. Like to get it on paper, to read through all the edits, to figure out which chapter goes here and here, which chapters have enough stories. And then what do you do with the book afterward? Mm-hmm. And so for myself, thinking too far into the future would shut me down, where a lot of people need like a business plan. Mm-hmm. For me, it was ignorance was bliss.
I don't know where we're going.
One day at a time, one step at a time. Yeah. But and we're all different. Yeah. But it can be that way also with like, let's just talk about exercise or weight loss. Like a New Year's resolution, you're going to like exercise, you're going to gym 3 days a week. I have found for myself that can be overwhelming. Mm-hmm. If I'll just tell myself, let's just get out and walk 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like if I can commit to 20 minutes, 3 days a week, like I was doing something. Mm-hmm. And then I start to build confidence. Well, you start to see a little results from the action, a little bit of results. Maybe your stamina builds up or whatever. And then your confidence builds up. Mm-hmm. So that's what I train my team on a lot. You got to take action to get some result.
Yeah, people don't like getting beat down. Yeah.
Yeah, get some result to then build your confidence that the action was worth it. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was just that. It would do a little bit, then I would find pride in what I had done, and then the vision would become a little bit more visible versus needing to have an idea of really what it all looked like in the end. Mm-hmm. So
you just wanted to get gas in your car and get going.
Yes.
Okay.
And figure it out along the way. Present over perfect.
Yeah.
Too many people, I used to be like this. I'm getting better as I get older and wiser. Too many people feel like they have to have the entire plan before they start any action. Yeah. And that's what I talk to women about every day. That's what I do in my business. Yeah. They're stopped by fear. We get stopped by fear because maybe something felt uncomfortable, or maybe we don't exactly know how it's going to look in the end. It's like, no, just make the decision and then just start. Yeah. You'll figure it out along the way.
Yeah. I do that same thing, except I take a little different approach by saying like, hey, I make a plan and I start it. If I tell somebody I'm doing it, it is happening 100%. Like, and I make myself start that thing. Now I'll go down the plan that I've started out, but if something comes up to block me, I just pivot from that point.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You
find another way around it.
Find another way. And I always use the analogy of like, it sounds crazy, but like water rolling down a hill, right? It's going to come across a rock at some point. And the water is going to get downhill. It just has to change directions.
Yeah.
100%. So that's the way that we have to think about these plans and the things that we're going through. If you think you're going to have every step of the process figured out and all you have to do is just follow a map, okay, good luck, man.
Yeah, no.
We'll see you in 40 years. It's not happening.
Business especially is always pivoting.
Right.
They're always pivoting. I mean, it's funny, when working with my team, I actually bought these note cards that says, plan A, plan B, and they're scratched out and it says plan XYZ.
Yeah, I like it.
It's plan A is very rarely going to be what happens.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pivot.
Yeah. Hustle and trust, I think is the number one thing.
Yeah, I love that. Let's put that on a hat.
Yeah, hustle and trust. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so we've made it through were you able to get clear of phase 2 there?
Of the, yes, the lawsuit?
Yes.
Absolutely. Everything worked out perfect and yes, settled outside of court and, we were able to move on and it's history now. I mean, that's now been 7 years and like, anything, we get stronger as we go on. Yeah.
Awesome. That moves us into phase 3.
Yes.
Phase 3 was?
The most devastating.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a divorce of a 23-year marriage. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
And what led up to that?
A lot of things. I mean, I it's interesting. And this is really where a lot of the foundation of the book talks about. Over the years, I stopped trusting some internal instincts and would make, maybe excuses or would not want to believe maybe some of the things that I thought were happening that weren't comfortable. And so I would either avoid talking about them or I would, like I said, make excuses for them. And really ultimately stop trusting myself, stop trusting that internal compass, your internal instinct. And had a great, great marriage for many, many years. But I think something that happens, you have 2 kids, you've got 2 people having very demanding careers. And we grew apart, but not necessarily through choice.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened, choices made, and I really don't want to get into the details.
Yeah.
But I ultimately discovered some things that were not okay with me.
Yeah.
And I had to decide at that point, what do I do?
Yeah.
And that was a lot of prayer too. That was, like I mentioned earlier, it was, let's work through this. We went through 12 years of counseling.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I would think we're doing better, the Lord would show me otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted nothing more than I loved that man more than anything in the world and loved our family.
Mm-hmm.
But I discovered that I was enabling by staying.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to trust that life could be better on the other side. And that is very hard.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody that listens that's going through that decision-making process, there is nothing easy about it. But what I will say, and this could come across very strange, I wasn't a believer in divorce. I'm a believer in divorce. And that probably needs to be explained.
Yeah, hit me.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little deeper.
It's not that I didn't. Yes, of course, I believe that there's certain circumstances for people that need to get divorced. And I was raised, biblically, like, there's only certain reasons to get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've learned through the process is if there is destruction happening and it's not benefiting anyone, including the children, that it's okay to go through it if it ends up being better for everybody in the end. So, because I judged myself and I judged myself and I judged myself for ultimately, like, tearing our family apart. I mean, I didn't tear the family apart, but it happened. It ultimately happened.
On a decision.
And that's why I said I couldn't make it on my own.
Yeah.
And let me just say this too. The aftermath is terrible. I mean, there is nothing pretty about a divorce during a divorce. And even several years in, I mean, I actually went through it when my daughters were teenagers. Very difficult time. They're going through so many changes. In fact, the day my daughter moved to Tech, I drove home and filed for divorce that day. So it was, she never came back home to the home she grew up in.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. And at the time, my youngest was 14 and starting high school. Very, very pivotal, developmental stages. It was awful. I mean, having them not have the home that they had and what they believe they would always have it's heartbreaking for me to this day. There's not, I mean, there's days I don't question myself, but it's very often that I will say to myself, oh my gosh, like I caused this. My husband now gets really angry at me when I say that. But it's just a natural thing that you do. And, but in the end, you come out on the other side. And our lives, all of us, all four of us, the four original of us, are all better.
Yeah.
Because of it. So you can get through it and you can thrive on the other side. So so yeah, it was the toughest thing I've ever gone through.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of times, people will kind of help us make the decision that makes us feel better.
Yeah.
Right. Self-evaluation is the main thing that we probably need to self-reflect on our decisions all the time of, we're not going to make the best ones all the time. We're not going to make the right ones all the time. And just to say like, I don't worry about it. I did what I did and I move on. Like, okay, yeah. But you can also take into an understanding of, man, maybe I did make a wrong decision. I'm not saying that decision was wrong at all. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm just saying like to make decisions and then just go, is what it is. Here we go. Like, I understand where you're coming from of how you felt, where you were like, I caused this or I did this. Well, there is a butterfly effect to every decision that's made, right? And that's okay. Like you just need self-reflection, I think, is a big part of this to make sure that we are going, okay, the next one that I make, I'm going to be aware that it's not going to be this simple. There's going to be this and this and this that go with it, right? So
absolutely. And I've had a lot of friends or acquaintances, a referral, sounds kind of weird, we'll say, oh, you're going through this. Maybe you could talk to my friend Christy or something like that are going through these type of situations. And it's, there's not a one size fits all in this either. I mean, it's very specific to everybody's different circumstances. But ultimately, had I stayed, I would have been a shell of who I am. And I know that's not either what the Lord wanted from me either. So, but yes, it's, I think, healthy to constantly be looking at your, evaluating yourself of did I do it, but not beating yourself up.
Sure.
Because I can do that. Sometimes when things get challenging, even still with one of my daughters, they're going through something and I think, oh gosh, if they didn't have, two parents that were in different, would it be like this? And then I have to think, look, things happen in our life and we've got to just we did what we did with the time, with the information that we had.
Yeah.
And we got to just move on.
Yeah.
So I'm getting better at that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, there's some building blocks to it, for sure. And for those people that are out there, like, I'm sure it really helps for you to be able to say, hey, look out for this, this and this and this are going to happen.
Yeah.
And as you go through making those decisions with those people, it's almost like how much of the pain is built up, how much of it is real, how much it is me looking at the needle to see what that really feels like, or am I spinning out of control because I'm not thinking through the situation?
Absolutely.
And
I think one of my biggest missions is to help people, more women, because that's just my journey and I'm being the female in the story, but to feel normal. I think we judge ourselves, we get concerned about what other people think, and just to feel like, okay, because I'm going through these things does not make me, bad. It doesn't make me bad that I haven't figured it out. Doesn't make me a failure, because all of those things I felt. Like, why? I mean, I didn't have a good friend or a family member that could be like a mentor through that process. It was the same actually when I went through cancer. I shared that, and my mom said, you got to find some people that could be your mentor. They've gone through this. I had to do the same with divorce. Find somebody that I could. In a group, there was a group called divorcecare.org. So I got like professional, advice, because I didn't want to be making decisions and based on co-parenting and this kind of thing that weren't going to be healthy for the girls. And, but God, it's a lot of self-judgment. I mean, you're just, doubting the steps you're going through. So, like I said, one of my biggest missions is just to make people feel normal. It's okay if you felt that way. I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that, in your family, because I'm hearing like I'm trying to decide for myself with you and your story. You talk about the roles in your family and when you grew up as a kid and you're a hardworking family and y'all were together, and then you talk about, your husband and how much you loved him and the kids and the things that really kind of reflected out of that. Do you believe that there's like, are you a traditionalist when it comes to like family roles, of like how, because you truly can separate men kind of do some things and women kind of do some things?
Naturally, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not.
Okay.
In a sense, it's funny because I was raised more, well, I say that, my dad was financially the provider, but my mother worked in his office her entire life.
Sure.
Okay. My mom had a college degree. So to just reflect a little bit on that, my mother fled Cuba in 1960 when Fidel Castro took over, and they came here to the Dallas area. Her two aunts actually lived in the Dallas area prior to the revolution. So my grandmother was the oldest of three girls, and they came to be where the aunts were, anticipating to always go back. She enrolled in school at Bryan Adams. She was very smart. She ended up getting a full scholarship to SMU. They didn't have a penny. She got a full scholarship there. She took the family car to go back and forth, et cetera. Based on the fact that her family lost everything, she raised us very much that education was huge because the government can take away your money. They did to them. The government can take away your weapons, for protection from, the guerrillas and so forth coming in to take them to work for the government. But they cannot take away your mind. And so we were always encouraged education and to have our own ability to work. Okay. Even though she was available to us all the time because she worked for my dad. So the flexibility was, her own hours. We saw our mother work. And so for us, it wasn't like a bad thing that our mom was not a stay-at-home mom. Like it wasn't like she wasn't available for us, or it wasn't abnormal to us to have a working mother. So then I go become a mother, and that's my role model. But I struggled with that because so many of my friends, became stay-at-home moms and could do it. Just wasn't for me. I tried it for a year and I felt like I was an alien. I became so anxious. My mom was like, "Oh my God, you got to get back to work." Anyway, so from that perspective, I've always felt the desire to have something for myself. We were never raised like, you never know, you don't want to rely on a man. Like that was not the message. The message was the revolution and the government. And this can actually be a real thing. So you want to have your own independence. So I'm so grateful because, I did become a single mom and I've always had a career. So I wasn't somebody that had to start from zero. In fact, instead of just survive, I thrived because I have a very successful business. So that's non-traditional, from that perspective. When it comes to the house, the traditional roles. Yeah, I love to cook, I love to garden. But we're definitely a, 50-50 household when it comes to kind of the traditional roles.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting too, because I think about like, hearing you talk and hearing the way that you speak about things, it sounds like you've got, a very traditional value system set up. And then, see the balance between like, here's this lady that wants to be, an entrepreneur who is an entrepreneur and is doing all these different things, right? And so it feels like you have your feet in two different worlds at some point. You know what I mean? And how is it to balance that?
I'm 53 now, so it's been years of practice. That's the first thing. I don't truly feel you're ever balanced, which is interesting. I think you just have stages, so there are stages where I feel like I'm thriving in one area, and there are stages of, the year that I might be thriving in another area. I think what's been so great is that because I'm an entrepreneur, I have the flexibility. So my girls will tell you I was always there. I didn't miss a Valentine's party. I I, worked from home. I wanted to be home when they got off the bus, but they've also seen me work. And now it's so fun because my 23-year-old's getting old enough where, for example, I went to a meeting with her professor. She's actually applying to grad school. Never thought that would happen. This is my kid that struggles in school. And went to her master's professor's meeting with her. And she was like, he was complimenting her on her networking skills. She's amazing at networking. And she goes, well, you know who I got that from? And you start to see those things show up in your kids.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful because I want nothing more than for them to be able to take care of themselves, for them to have, and especially in today's world, getting by on one income is really a challenge.
Yeah, surely.
And it will only be more so as they start to have their own families.
Yeah.
And so I'm so grateful now that they have had kind of the best of both worlds where they've been able to see me work, but I've also been able to be available to them.
Yeah.
I didn't do well when I was working in corporate America and I had to feel guilt when my kid was sick.
Yeah.
So I didn't do well with that.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, balance is always a struggle, but I've gotten better as I've gotten older. I definitely have.
Yeah. I'd say my wife stayed home with our kids for, she went to school, went to college, got her degrees, and then started her first job and got pregnant with our first kid when she was 6 months into her first job, right?
Yeah.
And then got put on. She had preeclampsia, so she had to stay on bed rest the last 3 months of the pregnancy, and we expected to go back. Yeah. But as soon as our first child was born, and you look into their eyes, you're like, I'm responsible here, right?
I know.
And so now I'm looking in, trying to make sure that
they're safe.
So we made a bond like, hey, the first 5 years of this kid before he gets, I don't want to send him to daycare. The first 5 years, she was like, I want to stay home.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, I'll take care of everything. You stay home and take care of that. Well, 2 years into that, 2.5 years into that, we had another one, right? And so there's a reset the clock for another 5 years, right? Well, then it gets to kindergarten and it goes for another 5 years, right? And then it goes into the middle school. And finally, when it gets to middle school, I looked and I said, hey, look, here's the real crux of this. I don't care if you ever work or don't work, but the thing that I'm scared the most about is like, as a member of this family, like you have to, at some point, if something happens to me tomorrow, I need you to survive.
Yeah.
Right. And so I don't care if you make $1 million, you make $5. I don't care. I just need you to do something where you can be self-sufficient, where you can land on your feet and you won't be dependent on anybody else.
Right.
Whether you walk through this door or not, for security. Right. And so, she got out and she's brilliant. So she got out and decided to take another degree for her third one and got into, her own career. And so she's done that. And so very proud of her for that.
That's awesome.
But at the end of the day too, it's like, that was her feet in both worlds. Right. And kind of feeling kind of the same thing that you're talking about of like very traditional roles on one hand and then very non-traditional roles on the other hand, right?
I'm just the same way. Yeah. I mean, in the home as, I'm totally a traditionalist.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you use the word security. That is the foundation of what my mom instilled in us. It was just that security that she didn't care if we worked or didn't work, but she wanted us to have the security to where we had the education if we needed to work, then we could, you know? And so it's interesting. The word of, do you ever do like the word of the year? Do you ever do like
No, hit me.
Okay. Have you ever heard of that concept? Like you pick a word for the year. So I don't know where I learned this several years ago, where instead of having a New Year's resolution, you have a word for the year.
Okay.
And it's a word that you like run everything through. Okay. So for example, the year after I divorced, my word became security. Okay. Like this year, I want to feel secure. So whether it was financially, whether it was like getting an alarm on the house, whether it was like secure in my emotions, make sure I was doing counseling. Like this year is all about security. I want to feel secure in my decisions and all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's an example. So anyway, that was my word that year. This year, my word is actually joy. Every year it's different. And I find something to run. It gets filtered through everything. So all the decisions I make, is that going to bring joy? Is that going to take joy away?
Interesting.
Yeah. So you can do anything. From one year it was thrive. I can't think. Last year it was flourish. I want to flourish, which actually it's kind of the filter of a flourish by becoming an author.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah.
Very interesting to take everything that you do and try to put it through the scope of one word.
One word.
What a big decision, right?
And it has to it's
Sleep.
not going to come to
I'm gonna
you
go
at
to
one
sleep.
moment.
Is this going to make me sleep better? Right here.
No, that's actually a really important one at my age. But you have to kind of sit on it and then it'll hit me.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that's it. That happened to me last week. And I was like, joy, that's it. Oh my gosh, joy. That's where I am in my life right now. So yeah.
How many times have you done this?
Probably for a decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard a concept probably 10 years ago when I started doing it. I like it better than a New Year's resolution because then you can fit it into whatever, you know, that needs to be. Okay, everybody talks about fitness for a New Year's resolution. It's well, I started Pilates. It's actually bringing me joy because there's lovely people in there and I'm not sweating so much. I'm still feeling like I'm doing something. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. As you've gone through this too, is there anything in this book, that you want to talk about as far as the journey goes into really creating a book, the steps? And for those people out there that have never done this, and everyone's got a dream to be a writer one day, you actually made it happen. Are there steps that we should go through to do that?
It's I don't feel super qualified to give advice on that.
I did it, but I don't feel super qualified, guys.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I totally did it. What I would say is that you should do it.
Yeah.
If you have the inkling at all to do it, do it. And I had to decide, I made a decision to do it. I had to decide if nobody ever reads it but my two daughters, it will have been worth the time and effort because I'm leaving a legacy to them. And in fact, just last weekend, my daughter, my oldest, read it. The youngest hadn't read it yet. And she called me almost in tears. And she said, Mom, I read the book seeing you as a woman, not as my mom. I there's so many stories I didn't know, and I was just, that's all I needed to just give me the validation that it was worth it. So I guess my biggest advice would be do it. There are so many resources. I personally hired a writing coach because I knew that I wanted to do it, but I didn't trust myself to put the time aside.
Right.
So by hiring somebody to dedicate every Wednesday from 12 to 1, we're sitting down and we're doing this was effective for me.
Yeah.
But there are so many ways to do it. So that's really what I would say.
Yeah. So, much like artwork, people ask me all the time, how do I get started or whatever? And I said, put it on social media.
Yes.
Let people see it.
Yeah.
Because that's the hardest thing to do when you craft something that's your baby. You write a story, or you paint a picture, or you make some pottery, or you do whatever. Showing the world so they can kick the crap out of it is a hard thing to do.
Hard. It's so hard. That's what you asked me about, the fear.
Yeah.
I was so worried the week the book launched. Oh my gosh. What is the feedback going to be? And I've gotten wonderful feedback, which is what's made me want to actually promote it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, getting the crap kicked out of you is growth.
It is growth.
And you can't believe everybody that tells you you're awesome either.
No.
Some people are blowing smoke, and the people that are haters are probably had a bad day, right? Somebody got their order wrong at McDonald's or whatever
exactly.
it was, right? So,
and two, at least for myself, I talk myself, this is my first time to do it. I'm proud of the fact that I actually did it. I don't know if you've ever heard of Brene Brown, but Brene Brown, she talks about, it's Theodore Roosevelt that actually said this quote of, so she gives him credit, but basically it's unless you're in the arena, you're not allowed to give feedback.
Yeah.
And it's something she talks herself through, for social media comments or criticism that she will get. It's unless you're out there doing it yourself, I really don't want to hear what you have to say, because it's, if you've done it, I want to hear, tell me more, how can I get better?
Yeah.
And I had to be okay with that, but it is scary. Yeah.
Well, I heard one that reminds me of a quote that I heard. It says, "That's not that great. I could do that." From the person that's never done anything.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to tell you your stuff's not that great because it's a self-reflection of them not doing anything, So if people do stuff, they're going to get kicked It's going to happen. People, I'm telling you this, it's going to happen. If you go out and you do something, people are going to hate you. They're going to kick on you. They're going to whatever.
Anything.
But there's also going to be people that are going to throw bouquets at you.
Yeah.
You're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
It's you know.
Launching a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get haters. And then there's going to be people that can't wait for the next episode.
I'm surprised people can still fight through this accent, to be quite honest. They're like,
they're still following you.
Let me listen to the redneck for an hour and a half. But anyway, so that's really cool. So if you were to give them 3 stages to go through for this book, what's the first thing to do, the second thing to do, the third thing to do to accomplish something? Yes.
I would say get your thoughts on paper. Okay. You know, just scratch paper. I mean, this was in my notes on my phone. I just wrote down different things. I would make notes about a story that I wanted to be sure and tell, or a concept, or if I was listening to, you know, a podcast or reading a book, you know, I'd jot down those notes. Like, just get them on paper. Get your general outline. I'm not talking literal outline, but a general outline of what you would want your message to be. That'd be the first step.
Yeah.
Second step would be either find somebody to help you or find a resource. There's so many resources online. I mean, ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
There's apps that you can join that will actually help you work through the processes. You can get one-on-one coaching. You can get group coaching, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third process is, you know, the publishing process. I hired a publisher to do it. I don't really have experience on self-publishing. I've got a really good friend who self-published her book. It was less expensive. I only know what I know. So I was like, I'm going to start here and try. You just got to start. Start, because you're going to learn through the process.
Yeah.
But that's what I would say.
Yeah, just go ahead and just do it.
Just do it.
It's the old Nike adage, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Things that go through your life and make a mark on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scars, things like that, right? I noticed you got tattoos.
Yes.
I read something that said, I got my first tattoo. I have quite a few tattoos across my body.
Yep.
And they all mean something to me. You know, they're a part of my story. They're a part of, like, they're the only thing that no matter what happens, I will have for me my entire life. No matter. From the day that take it to the day that I go to the dirt, that will be with me. That's the only thing. So I like to invest in the concept of telling a little bit about myself behind each one of these pieces, right? Do you feel this way? Do you feel like these are a part of your story, or are they a part of an expression of a moment in your life?
So can I read you the opening sentence
Hit me.
Of my book? Okay. All right. It's funny you asked this, because I have a very good story. I don't know if it's good, but it's mine. At 50 years old, I was supposed to be settling into predictable routines, not getting my first tattoo. Okay. So my first tattoo actually is down my spine. It is Isaiah 41:10. It's "Fear not, for I'm with you," which was my scripture that I carried with me through breast cancer. It is something I would literally lay in the chamber when I was getting radiation. I said it over and over. I had bracelets. It was just all around me because I did not want to live in the darkness. And so I'd never had a tattoo. My husband didn't have tattoos. My parents think that if you have tattoos, you're in a Harley gang, because that was their generation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was not accepted in my family.
Yeah.
And as I went through the cancer, et cetera, and after the fact, I was like, one day I just want to get Isaiah 41:10 tattooed on me. Okay. So then I meet my now husband, and he's just tatted up. Okay. And so I tell him one day, I really want to do that, but I'm scared to death. My family's going to think I'm crazy. Here I am, a 50-year-old woman, worried what my family's going to think. Okay. Yeah. And so we were in New York City. We love to go to New York City. We're theater people. So we love to go to the theater, and it was raining one day, and we're like, what are we going to do? He goes, go get your tattoo. So we researched and found this place, looked at reviews, because he was like, you don't shop prices.
Sure. Yeah.
With a tattoo, you do not shop prices. You shop quality. So I was like, okay. So we went into this place, and I told the lady, what I was wanting. And I said, I don't have any idea where I want it. I mean, this is how much thought I'd put into it. None. And so she said, well, what kind of font? So I don't know. So I start just Googling.
Mm-hmm.
And I see something down somebody's spine.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, your spine holds you up.
Mm-hmm.
This scripture is what's held me up. It is my life scripture now. I want to have it on my spine.
Mm.
And she's like, well, that hurts on your spine. I'm like,
they all hurt.
Well,
yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to do it. And so I decided to do, instead of just Isaiah 41:10, it says Isaiah 41:10, fear not, for I'm with you. And it's actually in her handwriting, which is beautiful. It's very, very creative, very artistic looking.
Yeah.
So that was my first.
Uh-huh.
So my family thought I, lost my mind.
Yeah.
And my dad had to send me articles about people that have tattoos and they get this and that, blood cancers and all this stuff because he's a scientist. Anyway, so I had to get over all that.
Yeah.
So then my second tattoo, I got actually over one of my scars from my surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just to kind of, be a reflection of that.
Yeah.
So there's an artist that I became interested in. Her name is Deanna James. Do you know her?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband has a beautiful
floral
shoulder. Yeah. Her stuff is floral.
Yeah. She did a piece of my chest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she was an apprentice under one of his artists when she was apprenticing. And so he turned me on to her and I saw the roses and I was like, I want that.
Yeah.
And I looked at that for probably 18 months, 2 years. I was like, I want that. But she's $3,000 a session.
Small world, right? Yeah.
And so but I had an idea what I wanted. But it really was frowned upon in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And through this just rebirth of myself, of like learning to trust myself again, learning where I held back different aspects of my life, things I haven't shared much because I didn't want to build them up when honestly, I probably should have pursued that, but it really wasn't in my traditional family's, ideas, etc. I've learned since my divorce so much about myself and how I have held back in certain areas where really it's things that either, gifts that the Lord's given me that I've just not pursued because it wasn't maybe the common thing for my family to accept, etc. So I'm in the line. We're in Manhattan again, different trip. And I'm in the line at a intermission during a theater. And the theaters are tiny there and the bathroom lines are long. Mm-hmm. So I'm standing in this long line and I'm wearing a dress that's backless. Mm-hmm. And this girl, about 2 or 3 people behind me, young girl, she taps me on the shoulder and she says, excuse me, do you mind me asking what your tattoo says? Mm-hmm. And so I told her, if you're not from with you. And I told her my story of cancer and she starts bawling. And she says her mother had died from cancer 3 years ago and that her and her sister had been checked for the BRCA gene and she has it, but her sister does not. Mm-hmm. And how she's grateful it's her because her sister has Down syndrome. And she's just, she probably hugged me 3 or 4 times. And in that moment, I thought, this tattoo opened the door for me to make a connection with somebody. Yeah. How dare me hold myself back thinking, oh, what are people going to think if I get this big flower on me? Mm-hmm. And I walked into the theater and I told my husband, we're going to go get that tattoo tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So we researched and we found an artist that could do similar to Deanna James because you can't recreate somebody's artwork. Yes. You know that. You're an artist. Yeah. And so I have the flower all over. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And sounds so silly. It's like writing the book. I'm so proud of myself that I got over that fear and just did it. It's for me. And it opens so many conversations that I love that aspect. It's a relationship building.
Yeah. No, that's a cool thing. I think that, they really mean something in your life. And for me, it's like, it's almost like a time capsule or something of, what you go through.
What you were in that time period.
Yeah, and what you stand for and everything else. And so Deanna actually did a tattoo on my chest when she was an intern at working for Francisco.
Okay.
Frank Sanchez.
That might be who my husband had worked.
He's done the rest of my stuff.
Okay.
But it's a heart in the middle of my chest, and it's like looks like an anatomy heart, not like a illustrated heart, and it has 2 daggers going through the middle of it. Mm-hmm. So poking out this side and poking out this side, and then out of the top is a flame, and then there's a crown on the top of it, right? And then hanging from it is a cross on a chain, right? Mm-hmm. And it just means no matter what you go through in your life, if you're super passionate about it, you're going to take daggers.
Oh, that's so good.
Regardless, it's your passion. This is what you have heart for.
Yeah.
Right? So just remember, as you go through this, it's going to stick.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really believe it and you really love it and you really have heart for it, that's part of the process.
Mm-hmm. That is really good.
It's just it's a memory for me, to be like, it keeps me in check too, of like, if you're going to do this and you're kicking doors down, just remember this is who you are and this is what you're about, and keep kicking doors down.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't, and there will be things that happen.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
Yeah.
Anything worth doing is going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Everything worth doing is going to be a challenge. So yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, well, thanks. Well, I tell you what, man, I've had a really good time talking and exploring with you and kind of going through some, business aspects or whatever, but really we've gone through like soul searching and, creating a person, and kind of finding out, helping people with the journey, and that to me means more than,
anything else.
Making $1.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything else. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if you could, you just tell everybody like where they can find your book, where they can find you.
Absolutely. So on Amazon, you can find my book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. We can maybe include the link. I don't know if 100%. Do that.
Yeah.
And my website is ChristyTrujillo.com. So yeah, if you want to find me there, follow me on any of my social media. And it's all linked to my website. So would love to have anybody review the book or give me your feedback or share with me how it touched you. I love to hear the stories. Keeps me going. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah.
Appreciate 100%.
It, Brandon. Well, everybody, until next time, that's the Blueprint.